Welcome to this long form review talking over the differences between the games inside the franchise Gears of War 1. I've tried to include some examples, clips and facts and figures to help illustrate my point and make it more visual for the viewers. The first big change that I feel went downhill in this franchise and made the game less skilled, less exciting and generally feeling different was the movement. The run speed was 10% slower, making players feel stuck in some sort of liquid, syrupy movement that just didn't feel right. Your head wasn't down, you weren't gunning it for the kill, it felt slow and sluggish. The strafe speed was over 16% slower, meaning that outplays movement, strafing and general trying to make people miss bullets was a lot harder as you felt more blocky, slow and tanky. Now, the evade speed of all games that I could test was really no difference. There was no delay, however, after the roll in Gears 1. You were free to sprint, shoot or do whatever you wanted. So there was no difference in evade speed. Maybe Gears 5 is just 2% slower. As you can see, he's quite not finished the animation. In my tests, ever so slightly slower in Gears 5. The big change was the ability to push in future games. There is a heavy delay from running and shooting. As you can see in these examples, I am trying to pull the trigger, however my character is not shooting. Similarly in Gears 5, when you try to roll, you also have to wait for the animation to be completely finished and stop until you can shoot. Again, whilst running and then trying to instantly shoot, there is a delay that stops me firing unless I pause and then shoot. In Gears 1, there was no delay. This created fast outplays. You had to think on the fly because the person you were fighting could have this move in their arsenal. In Gears 5, even 2, 3, it's very difficult to do that maneuver. However, there was no delay from running and shooting, and again this enables more plays in Gears 1. As you can see, a play like this where you turn and kill 3 people would not be possible on more modern examples of the game. In Gears 3, however, this was still in the game, and roadie run strafing was a huge thing. Ducking under people's shotguns and bullets and out strafing was a very memorable thing, and that has gone from the game, and that is a skill gap that is no longer in. Now, the combination of these no delays, this quicker movement, created long, extended, close quarters fights. Players were trying to move, roll, shoot, whip shot, use their shotgun from certain ranges and trying to get into that body range without taking too much damage. And when you got the kill, it felt rewarding. So why are close quarters fights taking place in this game?
Gears kind of started off originally as like a very large-scale vehicular-based product, and then eventually when we were able to look at the visuals we were able to do with Unreal Engine 3, we kind of wanted to bring it back down to a much more intimate kind of setting, whereas you actually have a chance to get into close proximity with your foes and kind of, you know, do a curb stomp on them or chainsaw them or shotgun their head off and kind of see all this in its bloody glory and actually get to the point where you have blood on the camera and have this kind of intimate violence that we're...
We started branching away from the hardcore tactical angle when we started realizing that to a lot of people what tactical means and boils down to is you're shooting tiny little pixels of dudes who are exposed, you know, 500 meters away. And we have these incredible art assets and characters that we want to fill the screen with. And you want to get personal and involved with these creatures. So what we end up doing is we took what we considered the good elements of tactical gameplay, self-preservation and flanking, and we kind of super deformed that and we cram it into a tighter environment where you're playing a tactical game just on a much smaller scale. You're not shooting pixels in the distance.
We don't really push, you know, a lot of long-range combat, especially, you know, we were reluctant to even put a scope on the sniper rifle because we wanted to keep all the combat really close.
The other thing I think that separates it, especially from other shooters, is the fact that it feels more like a gunfight. The fact that these characters dive into cover like they mean it, like their lives depend on it. I mean, there's really no jumping in war, right? So you want to keep your head down, not up.
Modern Gears of War introduced the ability to cancel your slide to cover. All of a sudden, the mind game and the tactical element of trying to force a person to go to cover, read that movement and shoot them has gone. The strafe has almost gone. It's now become this quick sensitivity stick control with this crazy movement desperately trying to gib the opponent with the increased gib range. The tactical squashed element for me has gone.
Most multiplayer games have a capture the flag game. It just doesn't really fit in the Gears universe. It'd be kind of, you know, weird to see Marcus Phoenix running around a map with a bright red flag or something. You know, that just seems weird.
What's stopping rifles and other things factoring in? Well, for one, if you were to engage in a other game in close range, you might get meleeed. In Gears 1, the melee was a big thing, but you had to aim it. It had to be a choice, an accurate placement of when to use it. It had no lunge. It had no lock-on. It had no gimmicky thing. In Gears 2, it also had no lunge, no lock-on, and it had a delay after running, so you couldn't really sprint and two-piece. This was a good change. However, when you did get in range, there was a wide lock-on range, making it borderline unmissable, and this again affected skill, in my opinion, and made it very unfun. When somebody was in range, they basically could melee you from any angle and you would die. Gears 5 took this one step further. There is now a commando-style lunge in the game, and you can shoot and melee instantly with no delay, creating this borderline insta-kill combination that is completely unskilled and unfun to play versus. Lunge, the commando, the lock-on has created a very noob-friendly melee, and you can sprint, kick. In Gears 1, it was harder to use, we've proven that, and if you took damage whilst trying to melee, like round this corner, you were stunned. This enables plays such as this, which looks simple, but here I ducked out of his melee and meleeed him back, and I had to aim it. In this clan matching game battles, I was in a 2v1. I'd heard that he was currently reloading. This meant I was safe to go for the melee and couldn't be stunned, and I had to hit the melee. So it makes simple melee plays even more skillful in older games. Taking cover in the franchise from my test was similar speed, absolutely no difference, but the gib range is larger. This creates a situation where the up A, because of this larger gib range in the modern games, it's a race to enter into that range, and it's not a race to land multiple shots. Everybody's scrambling to get in the one-shot range now, rather than land multiple shots. As you can see, the up A in Gears 5 is a huge move, and basically a free kill if it arises to you. You can't really sponge it or miss it. The Gears 1 shotgun has high fall-off damage. This creates extended fights, meaning it takes multiple bullets from a distance to down somebody, not just simply 2 shots. Again, extended fights are good. High damage with less fall-off, such as Gears 2, reduces shotgun dancing and outplays, and creates this environment where if you see somebody, you can shotgun them down. Gears 3 was slightly improved, but not much better. Gears of War 5 actually made a positive change. It has high fall-off damage, and you can't really shotgun someone from a massive distance. This is good for extended fights. However, there is no gradual change. It basically goes from a 4-shot down to a 2-shot with a pixel difference in range. This means somebody can shoot 4 and not down them, but if you step in a tiny bit, you are just 2-shotting everything that moves. This again creates a stupid playstyle where you're desperate to try get in the 2-shot range and everyone's stepping forward and just downing each other. It's not very fun.
It's intended to really demonstrate skill at the highest end while still landing satisfying kills at close to mid-range with the aim assist inside core play.
Support fire is stronger, more accurate, and slows the player. Support fire in Gears 1 was weaker. Mixed with a weaker shotgun gave the player more time to survive. They weren't slowed, they could move and outplay. As you can see, he's barely red. Mixed with a weaker rifle from a distance, he has more chance to move. However, what people don't realise is the Gears 1 rifles are actually the strongest. People seem to think Gears 1 was not a rifle game. Gears 1 has the strongest rifles. This has been tested. However, there is a reason they were not used. The rifles were stronger, but they were harder to use. There was lag, you had to lead, there was fall-off damage, there was no stopping power, making it hard to hit from a distance especially. So shotguns were favoured in close, Lancer was support fire. As you can see in these clips and examples, the further we bring our character back, the damage takes more and more time to kill. From 1 second up close to simply down a character, say picking up a weapon. If we step back and cross from a distance, it's going to take 2 seconds. If we move back to be really supportive from a different vantage point, it's going to take 2.5 seconds to down somebody. And all this creates and gives people chance to move and breathe. If you're shooting across the map, it's going to take almost 3 seconds to down somebody. Factor in them moving, you're probably not going to be able to down them. So it's a support weapon and not a killing machine. When people are strafing left to right, it takes about 2 seconds. And again, if you're stood still, it's about 1.5 seconds. In Gears 2, when people are moving, they are slowed. It's quicker to kill. And in the similar features in Gears 3 and Gears 4 and Gears 5. As you can see, it's about a second difference on the same type of clip because of that fall off damage and no stopping power. But the rifle is still super strong up close and it does slow you. It's just there was fall off damage. Gears 5, the same clip from a distance is going to take you almost identical times to kill. There is no real fall off damage and no time change. This means that you can Lancer people across the map pretty comfortably, and with stopping power, it's very, very oppressive. In Gears of War 1, it had some of the best well-designed maps I've ever played, especially Gears 2. However, when you took an aerial advantage, you couldn't really look down. You were more controlling the upper part of the map, and the lower part of the map was mainly restricted to people that were down below. If you were trying to shoot somebody from a distance, you could definitely do that whilst up on a taller vantage point. However, when that person then stepped into range, you couldn't really look over walls and shoot them or do anything. You had to come down and fight them head on. This created quite an interesting little balance. However, in Gears 5, this is completely gone. We can just shoot and look down vertical walls. It's very, very oppressive, completely unskilled, and it just gives people that have height advantage a crazy, crazy advantage. And all of the maps in Gears 5 are built around this sort of playstyle of get high, rifle, and it's just very, very unskilled to me. This is not the Gears of War I grew up playing. This is some hybrid Call of Duty look down and rifle and take a vantage point. It's not something I would talk about as fun or skilled. You factor in now that on older games you had to be very accurate. You could shoot a character in their neck or chin and it wouldn't be a headshot. You could go ahead and you could aim and clip somebody, and if that full circle wasn't on the character's head, you would miss. The full dot would have to be on someone's head. As you can see, even very, very close shots, if that dot is not on someone's head or the full dot is not on their head, it misses. You can get really, really close and miss. From a distance, you can miss. The ability to know you have outskilled the player with your aim is crucial in any video game. This reminds me of the whole Street Fighter scene, where they tried to make people's combos easier. By making people's combos easier, yes, the quote, big play happens more often, but the big play's value is diminished the more and more you see it, because more and more people can pull it off. In this clip here, this is a sniper clan match. I understand that the sensitivity is too slow to track him whilst fully scoped in. I understand that he's probably sprinting low down the bridge and is about to jump around the corner or push around the wall. I understand that I'm going to have to outscope, drag my shot and put it on his head in front of him and lead it with the delay. This creates an incredible shot, which I still look back on today and think that was a brilliant shot. When the game has large aim assist, all of a sudden these crazy moments are seen more and more often, and people begin to question, is the player actually hitting the shot? Was it bad registration? Was it aim assist? Did he really mean it? The old games were clinical, and when you saw somebody land a well-placed shot, there was a moment of exhilaration and elation that, wow, he's actually landed that shot. These modern games like Gears 5 and other Gears games with the aim assist have taken away that fast, accurate shooting, and the whole feeling becomes hollow and shallow and very soulless. And then, you know, you can try the pistol and the rifles, and if the full circle isn't on that square on that head, you will miss. We've already heard about the developer talk about aim assist, and here we are in Gears 5 where you can just miss pretty comfortably with a wide variety of weapons, and the bullets just lock onto people's heads. And these are some nice examples I'm giving. Whilst playing online with a small bit of lag, the shotgun and all the crazy magnetism, you can wildly miss people and kill. This is just a nice example, and it's still pretty bad. You know, you can aim at someone's chin, like we just showed, and it's a headshot. It's very, very unskilled and very unrewarding. As you can see, as you click, your scope jumps to the person's head and headshots. overall, the ability to be a skilled aimer has gone. It's very much hand-holding games. With the strength of the new rifle and shotgun, power weapons suddenly needed to become even more powerful to be worth picking up. We have noob tube rockets that then transform into a rifle that is even stronger than the base Lancer. This is like the equivalent of wasting your 3 boom shots and it then turning into a souped up Lancer. The game has these crazy pistols. Because there are so many strong power weapons on the map, we need something to break these setups. Then we have the flashbang. The flashbang is our tool to stop these setups and break all of these powerful weapons that are now on the map. All this does is basically blind and stun you and irritate you because your character loses control and is blinded for over a second. I think it has now been nerfed since releasing this video, but the stun is still a second long, and losing control on your character is not fun. And this has to be in the game because there are so many strong rifles and power weapons that it's very, very difficult to deal with just base weapons alone. You need something to break them. So we've now determined that the game is fundamentally easier to play, there are fundamentally a lot more stronger weapons all over the map, and the maps are fundamentally worse. Now we enter into a time where small mechanics have been removed. You cannot crouch up and down with a sniper. This leads to a removal of the ability to dodge, and everyone's kind of a sitting duck. You used to be able to crouch up and down and pop shot and make very, very fast sniper movements. Now with bloom and center screen aiming removed, it's actually very difficult to get a fast shot in the game. A huge portion of the skill of the game was the ability to pop shot, knowing people's animations, and able to take people out in a split second because you were the better player. Nowadays, the better player doesn't always win. You can have a grenade out, and if you manage to catch that guy and down him, he will blow up. In previous games, he would just be downed. He's lost. He didn't use his grenade. He's wasted it. In the modern games, doesn't matter. You get a second chance to blow the other guy up, and the range is enormous, so pretty much it's a guaranteed kill if you go down with a grenade in your hands. It feels like some cheap martyrdom that just doesn't belong in a franchise that was built up based off skill and pace. Clever techniques such as teardropping, which is the ability to lob a torque bow and ricochet it off surfaces, is gone. Now a simple tap of the trigger launches the torque bow into the air and the teardrop is completely removed. One of my most favourite things was the ability to stick people across the map and flick it and really control the bullet and the environment to stick people. This is gone, and this is just one of the many, many small mechanics that have changed over the time, which I don't have time to go into, that have made the game more casual, more simple to understand at a beginner level, but the depth has been removed. There is a lot to talk about, too much to talk about. The cover system also fundamentally changed. Now you can cancel out of your wall jump and you can mantle over cover. This means that cover-to-cover battles are basically non-existent, as you can mantle them and haul them over the wall and also volley them. This was a huge portion of the game, was the cover-to-cover battles that are now really non-existent, and the mind game that happened inside a shotgun battle. If you were moving and strafing in a certain direction, you may cause the other player to panic and need to do a fast evasive maneuver such as slide to cover. You could then predict that was going to happen and shoot the wall they were going to slide to. You would won the mind game the battle and ultimately killed him. Nowadays you can cancel out of it, and shotgun fights look very, very odd. It's about who can spam wall bounce with a very strange alternate single stick movement, and it's not as clean and crisp and concise as the dance and mind game of the shotgun battles from the older games, in my opinion. Listen, I can sit here and talk about every single tiny mechanic in excruciating detail, from the fact that there is now bloom, from the fact there is now lights on the sniper when you scope. When you are sniping, your gun is kicked in the air. There are tiny things such as previously, to find a character, you would have to throw a smoke, listen to that character's call out and figure out where they are on the map. These days, their position can be found instantly with the spot button, and this really negates clutching. These days, there are a whole host of features that have changed. Just as simple as spotting a character is now a click of a button. Previously you had to manually remember and track that character. There was not a mark above their head. If you lost track of them and needed to find them, you might throw a smoke and listen for the enemy to call out. You would then figure out their position. Nowadays, when someone goes for a clutch, if you spot them, you know if they've ran off and taken a position behind the wall or cover, or are they sprinting to the boom shot. It's very easy to track people nowadays. It's very easy to team cross, and it's very hard to make solo plays. Again, I could sit here and talk about every single thing in Gears of War in excruciating detail for a long time, but I'm sure by now you've got the point. For me, the game has slowly degraded in skill and excitement because the bigger plays, the more memorable plays, have either been taken out of the game or made much easier to perform, and thus the excitement factor of seeing that play has gone. I hope you have enjoyed this video from me. I'm sure once I've posted this I will remember some massive feature I've missed out, but that's really not the point. The point was just to give people an idea of what's happened to the franchise in my view. These videos are very hard and long to make. I have to kind of script them, have to get capture cards, old Xboxes and all these types of things to get this to work, and I have to organise people to stand in the lobby with me, etc. These are not simple clickbait videos that will get 10 million views, so if you have enjoyed them, please do like and share them with other people that you think will also like and enjoy them, because I'm trying to create content that other mainstream sort of Gears YouTubers are not doing. If you want to go a step further and support me, you can do. There are links in the description to my Twitch, which you could Twitch Prime or donate. There are links that you could just simply subscribe and follow for free, such as Twitter. You could like and comment on this video to help the algorithm. But your support is needed, as I'm a small channel trying to make niche content, and I hope you have enjoyed it. Again, there's a whole host of changes, and I'm not trying to say that Gears of War 1 is the perfect game. It is by far not the perfect game. However, I did really enjoy it, and I don't like the way the franchise has gone, and I just wanted to put my video out there for the developers, for other fans of the series, and maybe you think similarly, maybe you think differently. Let me know in the comments. But that's me signing out. I hope you have enjoyed this slightly different video. Peace. Goodbye, Cole, mate. This is the end. This is the end, brother, mate. We're going. We're coming off this game. I think I've lost the plot. Look, that doesn't even kill you.